I've read the comments on my previous post and you guys gave me good ideas for how to endure the horror. It was also pointed out in the comments that I didn't specify how long I've been living here. I have lived here for a couple of days. This is what has happened since my last post. Rule 6: on Mondays and Thursdays your doorbell will ring exactly 3 a.m. Approach the door as silently as you can and look through the peephole. There will be an old man with a fancy hat outside. Invite him in and politely ask him if he wants food. It doesn't matter what food you give him. After he has finished the food, he will thank you for your kindness and leave the apartment. Do not refuse him, because if you do then you will die. I took a few seconds to collect myself and opened the door. I would have expected a ghastly looking figure, but he looked like a normal person. He appeared to be in his mid-70s with pale complexion, messy gray hair, dark-colored eyes and wore a nice black tuxedo with a purple tie. However, I knew this wasn't an ordinary person because every cell in my body screamed danger. The old man looked me up and down and said in a friendly voice, "May I come in?" "Of course, sir," I replied as friendly as I could. The man thanked me and entered the apartment. He took off his hat and put it on the shelf and went to the dinner table and sat down. As I closed the door and locked it, I said to the man, "Can I offer you some food?" And he replied, "Yes, I would like that." I nervously went to the kitchen to put together a dish, and while I did, the man stared at me without blinking, which sent shivers down my spine. I served him some chicken with rice and looked nervously at him as he ate my meal. After he was finished, he stood up and walked towards me and said, "Thank you for the meal and your kindness." Before grabbing his hat and walking through the door, he literally passed right through the door. After he had left, I started hyperventilating and it took several minutes for me to calm down. I thought in the morning after work, I will go shopping for protective material against supernatural shit. Not long after that I fell asleep from sheer exhaustion and awoke to my alarm clock. The following couple of days nothing paranormal happened to me and I did not leave my apartment during the evening and night, but I bought several protective charms during my lunch break. However, the next day when I came home, I saw a letter lying on the doormat and bent down to grab it, but before I could do so I remembered Rule 10. If you receive mail that is not addressed by the company emblem, do not touch it with your hands. Use a glove or something else to pick it up and immediately burn it. Should you pick it up, the mailman will visit you the next day and trust us, you do not want to meet him. I put on a glove and picked it up, and I'm glad I did, because it did not have the rental company's logo on it. I went and grabbed a lighter and set it on fire, and when I did, it released a horrifying scream that made me drop it, and I looked on in horror as blue flames consumed it. As I prepared my dinner, I couldn't find the frying pan in the kitchen locker. I remembered Rule 7. Should objects in your apartment move between locations, pour the liquid we have provided you with on them and it will stop. The liquid is located underneath the sink in the kitchen. No harm will be done to you if you fail to do this, but there is a risk that some objects will never be seen again. I took the bottle containing the liquid underneath the sink and searched for it. I found it in the bedroom on the bed and poured the liquid on it, but nothing happened to my surprise. After making dinner and browsing Reddit and YouTube, I decided to take a shower before heading to bed. As I stood in the shower, the lights went out, causing me to freeze before snapping out of it and immediately turned the shower off. Rule 11: if the light in your apartment turns off between 9:15 p.m. to 9:20 p.m., find a place to hide until they have been turned on again. Do not worry, the creature won't find you as long as you are in hiding. I didn't dare to move and thanked myself for remembering to put up a shower drape. I heard the creature walking around and sniffing the apartment. It eventually left, but I waited a couple more minutes before turning the shower on again, and luckily nothing happened to me. As I stepped out of the shower, I froze in fear and cursed at myself for my stupidity as I remembered I did not lock the door after entering and finding the letter. I rushed butt naked out of the bathroom to the door and locked it and prayed nothing had entered. I quickly went to put on an amulet I bought, and as I did, it started to burn on my chest. Shit, I thought as my fight and flight mode activated. I rushed to grab my waist bag, yes, I have one, and put my phone, a flashlight, a bag of salt and a bottle of holy water in it and grabbed the keys as I left the apartment and made sure to lock it. I looked at the phone and it said 11 p.m. How is this possible, I thought, as there is no way in hell that it has been nearly 2 hours since I stepped out of the shower. Rule 3: if you leave the apartment between that time, always carry a flashlight, a bag of salt and holy water. The flashlight will repel the shadowy figures you may see. Should you hear footsteps behind you, and no one is there, use the salt to create a salt ring and do not break it until the footsteps has stopped. The holy water is for any people you may encounter. To make sure it is people, spray it on them. Should they react to it, immediately run back to your apartment, and stay there until 5 a.m. If they do not react, it's safe to proceed. I walked through the hallway, yes, but naked, and every hair on my body stood up and I felt uneasy. I saw 3 shadowy figures, but used the flashlight on them and as the rule said they vanished. When I entered the staircase, I heard footsteps behind me. I cursed and took the bag of salt and poured a ring around myself. I don't know how long I stood there, but I kept my eyes shut as I heard laughter and screaming around me. Apparently, they left that out from the rule. It eventually stopped, so I broke the ring and went on my way, and luckily, I saw no people. After leaving the apartment complex, I ran to the nearest 7-Eleven store, which was 15 minutes away on foot. When I arrived to the 7-Eleven butt naked, the staff was in simple words surprised and horrified, but I managed to convince them to let me in by saying I was robbed. They gave me some clothes and allowed me to use the staff room as they called the police. After calming down, I decided to call the company support and inform them what has happened.
The past, the future, and the present. Everything flows, and all is connected. This eye is not merely seeing.